Good afternoon. My name is Sakthi Priya. I'm studying in grade 10 and I belong to Daffodil's house. Today I'm dressed as a journalist. As a journalist, I hold one of the most important duties in the world next to agriculture, and that is manipulating and delivering information to make the people aware of things they've never experienced. Information is more important than people perceive it to be because it directly influences the way people think and perceive the world around them. A person a person might think that India is a poor country because Western media always tries to put India down as a third world country, but might realize that it is not the whole truth when they come here. That is how they influence the minds of their own people to think that their nations are greater than a nation like India. They put down other countries to be proud of their own countries. For example, a famous Western media channel released a video when India successfully launched the orbiter during the Chandrayaan-2 missions, and there they stated that India should not be investing in the space programs and should be investing in taking their people out of poverty instead. And medias tend to ignore the urban parts, the developed parts and beautiful parts of India, and display it as the slums, pollution, and other negative impacts. They try to show third world countries and developed countries in a negative light to make their people not sense their own embarrassing problems, to make them feel proud of their own country. And that is how low they have gone. But since these countries they target for no apparent reason don't have enough soft power and cannot utilize their media just as much as these mainstream channels can, they cannot even give a reply to what they are being accused of. Like, for example, Indian men are being accused, like we are being put down for a rape rates. But during these types of when we talk about the rapes in India, they never take out and talk about rape rates in their own country, which is actually way more than it is in India. But because of this, people tend to think that Indian men are creepy and also stereotype all Indians into the same category. But we Indians never give a reply to these, and that is because we know that it exists. Not one country in the world is crime free. Not one country is free of discrimination, and we know that very well. We know that we cannot speak up unless we fix our own problems. We are not embarrassed or angered or sad to address our own problems, and we only know that it is the best for us to fix our problems. So instead of embarrassing the other countries for them embarrassing us in back, we do the opposite and let them pick out our own problems and try to fix them. Because sometimes these news outlets really be giving us new information and problems we didn't realize ourselves. There are problems in our country we don't realize, but these other channels from the Western media pick them out for us, so we are able to recognize our problems and fix them. First, they used to tease us as street shitters and other things because of our high rate of open defecation. And so, what did we do? We never replied back. We never said we don't poop in the streets. Instead, our our government is constructing millions of toilets to reduce the rates of open defecation. We don't speak with words, we speak with actions. And one day, our media will be able to say back, look at your slums first. Because there's definitely a difference, a massive difference between Western slums and because in Indian slums you find one of the like you find the friendliest, most wholesome people in the whole entire world. They are happy despite being poor. Right when you go inside, all these happy kids, they approach you to hug you or play with you, and they are happy to cook for you and host you as their own guest, even though they don't have the money for their next meal. They all do some kind of work. They never lay around. They try their best to earn money. And that slum is only not their permanent settlement. It's only temporary, so they can use cheap housing, and when they get the money they need, they go out of there. They try their best to come out of their situations and try to develop their own life. They try their best to educate their children and bring them up in a good situation. But the people in American slums, Western slums, it isn't like that. Those slums house wanted criminals, drug addicts, and other dangerous people. Not even the police can feel safe when they're going in there. That's just how bad the situation is. You know why we never see the slum area, rural area of America or some other very developed countries? That is because the people in the slums are so violent that most people will ask you to not take a camera in there, because not even women or even men can be safe in there. These slums, despite being ugly, are actually a huge economic force for our country. Each and every household has their own unique way of manufacturing something. They manufacture, sell things, and it's a huge economic powerhouse for our nation. The most known example of this will be Dharavi slum from Mumbai, and many other slums are the same way. If we take pollution in our country, I accept that we are in fact releasing a lot of pollution, but these Western countries actually release a lot more than we know. The only difference is we release pollution that is visible by the eye, and they release pollutants that cannot be seen by the eyes. The most polluted street in the world is actually in London, not in India or China. If we take per capita emissions and historical emissions, India wouldn't even be in the list of top 10 or top 20 or even top 50, because that will be taken by the Western countries. Information being shared in this way is what makes people stereotype us in a negative light. Information can also be false at first and become true later on because of what people think and believe. That is the power of hope. An example of this would be the English language itself and how it became a universal language of Earth. First, they started by colonizing a few countries, and they taught English in schools. People thought it was really an amazing thing And soon, many people started to believe that English was superior to their even own language. Then later on, after a good sum of people knew English, it was announced as a universal language, and soon, generation after generation, we've been learning English because it was labeled the universal language. If one generation decided let's not learn English anymore, it wouldn't even be a universal language. These dirty colonizers and other Western nations that don't even understand post-colonial crisis and other things that only colonized countries know, dare to speak of us in a negative light. If the painters from back when British was colonizing us, if those painters had painted beautiful temples and their golden thrones in India instead of garbage dumps, starving people, and other negative things, we would have been known as a rich country with a diverse culture and heritage, instead of poor. Because we were once a country that used the Jacob diamond as a paperweight. It was Kohinoor was stolen from us, but they worship it. But they will never give it back, and they think it is actually something they should be proud of. That is because the Britishers at that time thought that the East India Company was actually saving us, since they only saw the poor side of us. If they ever saw the rich side of us and the India right now, they would think, why did we even ruin these people? Thank you.